Hey everyone, Vee Roberts here. I decided to jump on very quickly because I had a client conversation this week, in fact today, about how my client can actually get more speaking engagements. And all I wanted to do now was just share with you some of the ways in which I've actually been able to build a little career for myself, being paid to speak, with regards to my kind of content areas, which are branding, marketing, and getting started on social media. Now, what I want to share with you is that I've only been in business for a few years. Prior to starting my own business, I was actually working in the field of branding and marketing, having studied those areas. I was working as an employee for several companies, and I loved what I did, but I was made redundant. And unfortunately, having children and being made redundant really did put me in a hot spot because I needed to be able to provide for my family as well as do what I love. And I certainly wasn't going to go back into employment to work for anyone to tell me when I could and couldn't go to, assemblies, appointments, etc. And so I decided to actually launch my brand. And you'll have to watch some of my other videos to see exactly how I launched my brand on less than £100. But I want to talk today about how I was able to actually build a brand for myself as a speaker. Now, I kid you not, this wasn't easy. However, it wasn't deliberate either because I'd been trading from 2013. And in 2014, I actually launched an event and I spoke at my own event for the first time at RBS in London. And I hosted this event. There were over 90 people there. And I thought I'd get up on stage, but I didn't prepare as well as I could have. I had lots of great, juicy information, but I didn't prepare as well as I could have. And so as a result, unfortunately, I feel I did quite a bad job. And I remember at the end, I came off the stage and I was really hot and bothered. And a lot of people were saying to me how great they thought the session was, how much tips they'd got, it was really good, etc., etc. And I promised myself that I would never, ever make that happen again. I remember I kept looking at the back wall, checking the time. I hadn't really prepared the slides properly, if I'm honest. I was so focused on doing my event. So it was a bit of a mishmash. Everything was there content-wise, but I was really, really nervous about speaking in front of 90 people. And when I look back at it now, it's probably me talking myself out of it at the time because I'd previously spoken to audiences of over 500 at Oval Cricket Ground. I'd previously spoken to audiences of like 150 plus working as a manager. So I couldn't understand why I had talked myself out and been really nervous about delivering a talk at my own event about my area of expertise, branding and marketing. But, a lesson was learned. It was an experience. I wouldn't call it a failure because, as those of you who know me, I don't like to use the word fail. However, I learned a very big lesson from that, and that was that I would make sure that I was really, really clued up in terms of the amount of slides I was going to use and actually not having to even refer to slides too much and really being able to time myself really well so that I was really clear on what I was going to say and how I was going to say it. And you know what? That helped me because thereafter, I never did that again. In fact, every time I touched the stage after that November, I got raving results, raving reviews. And coupled along with the articles that I was writing, the podcast that my daughter was delivering for me at the time with her uni work as a hobby, and also, all of the things I was doing with my live streaming, as I started to live stream more, I began to build a bit of a brand for myself in terms of speaking. And this was never, ever part of the plan. But as you know, as entrepreneurs, we evolve, we grow, we change. And so I kind of transferred my skills from training and delivering workshops into actually becoming a speaker. And, I was invited to speak in New Delhi. I was invited to speak in Antigua. I spoke at my own events in Antigua as well. But I also now get paid to speak. And I find it a little bit weird when I hear people give advice. I remember one of the people that I was doing a social media class with once said to me that she'd been advised to go through, internet, go on the World Wide Web and just Google basically and look for different people that were doing events and contact them and offer to speak at their international events for free to be international speakers. And I remember I said, that's all well and good, but I don't believe that's great advice because if you are flying abroad just to get an international speaking gig, that's not great use of your time or your budget. You need to be able to qualify events before you go and speak at them. You need to have researched other speakers. You need to have even looked at the attendees. You also need to look at things like the ticket price. How much are people paying to go to this event? The caliber of people that are going to this event. Is this where you want to associate your brand? Because ultimately, if it isn't, I know of people that have gone to events and even exhibited at events, never mind speaking, and really felt very deflated afterwards because they were sold a lie. So one of the things I would say to you is don't offer yourself for free everywhere, because that's not a good strategy at all. If you want to be able to build your brand as a speaker, start off by live streaming if you can, and I would hope that you can, because if you're going to be speaking on stage publicly, then live streaming is virtually the same thing. So you really shouldn't feel awkward when, the camera's on you, because it would be the same as if you were talking to an audience. You'd have lots of eyes on you. So I would say one of the things you might want to consider is live streaming or pre-recorded videos, so that potential event organizers or people that are, planning events can see how you perform, how you deliver, your areas of expertise, and how you come across, your tone of voice, the way you look and sound. But also, I would say, if you're not already writing, become opinionated, share your views, share your knowledge, but also become opinionated. So rather than going through a phone book or, going through the World Wide Web or going through websites, consider using LinkedIn as a really good resource for actually building your speaking career. Because although I didn't proactively look for speaking engagements, fortunately, they came to me. I had people coming to me to speak at their events. It is important that there is a win-win. And I think the biggest win-win you can have is if you can liaise with professionals where you already know a bit about them. Perhaps they're already in your connections. Perhaps they're already on your friends list or connections list. So they're already warm to you. So there isn't a cold kind of buy-in required. What you're doing is you're connecting with people that may already be connected to other people, or indeed you're writing and sharing the articles that you're writing across communities and within networks where your ideal clients may be, or indeed the event planners that you're trying to connect with are. Now, I would never lie to you and say to you that my first few speaking gigs were paid. But what I will say to you is they are paid now. However, the approach that I used was definitely not to go out there and offer myself for free everywhere. All I did was write to demonstrate my expertise. I also wrote an email newsletter out weekly, which a lot of those event organizers were subscribed to. I did my live streaming, and I made sure that I networked at networking events. Now, as my diary began to fill up more, I began to become more in demand. I then needed to put together a pricing structure. And I would say if you're just starting out, maybe you are going to go through the route of doing things for free. At least have some kind of order to what you're doing. At least have a list of people that you'll go to. Make sure you've researched the events. If you are going to go international, I wouldn't offer up your time international for just any event. It's really got to be worth your while. It's got to be worth you paying that plane fare. And even then, I would say tread carefully with that, because sometimes it's not going to be worth your time. Look at what you can do locally around you. Speak to people like the Federation of Small Business, your local Chamber of Commerce, even your local council if they've got a business department. Speak to schools, speak to colleges, and see whether or not they need people to speak. Sometimes we go and make this thing really complex and really complicated, and it doesn't need to be. I would say the best thing to do is start live streaming. Then look at how you can use articles or a blog to demonstrate your opinion and your expertise. And thirdly, use something like LinkedIn or your existing networks offline to actually start communicating and telling people what you're looking for. By using simple things like a search tool on LinkedIn without having to pay for any kind of premium or sales navigator, simple 10 minutes a day exercise can help you to locate event organizers, as well as help you to locate events as well. And even going on to tools like Eventbrite, or Eventy, or local event listings. You can source and find events through things like Meetup that will actually show you, and I'm not endorsing these platforms, by the way, but go and check them out for yourself. They will actually tell you events that are going on, and you can usually get in contact directly through those platforms via email or some kind of direct message to the event organizer. Now, these are ways to save you lots of time. You do your groundwork, you do your research, you can get into the diaries of these people, have quick chat, see if they're a good fit for you, and then if necessary, offer your service. Now, if you are going for paid, it is advised that you look at what you've got to offer. So having a show reel, having evidence of what you can do, whether it's you speaking at events, or if you've never spoken at an event before, some kind of video material or content of you training or you delivering a video just so that they can really get a feel for what you're about. If you've got testimonials from people, again, that will go in your favor. Having some kind of guide or, fact sheet about yourself, bio, is also going to help. So hopefully those 3 pointers are useful. Again, there are many routes into public speaking. I'm only sharing with you 3 of the ways in which I got into public speaking, but I now get paid to speak at events. And actually, I don't regret the route to entry that I took, because it didn't require me to spend lots of time doing things that perhaps were not best use of my time. And also, I didn't show up at events where, especially when they were free, free events, or where I was speaking for free. I made sure I did my research. I made sure that the people that were going to be at that event were people that are of a decent caliber for me to work with and or nurture relationships with. And this is the advice I'd like to take away today. Do the research, speak to the event organizer, look at who's exhibiting, and then make sure that you are demonstrating your expertise and also your knowledge as a speaker, okay, through live streaming, through written articles, or through video. And I think that would be a really good starting point. If you've researched the types of events you want to speak at, then all you've got to do is put yourself out there. Go along to the event, speak to people that have already spoken at the event, ask them to introduce you, or even go along to the event and introduce yourself. Be direct, get out of your comfort zone and speak to the event organizer direct. Now, if you want more information, or if you found these tips helpful, please do comment below. Maybe you've got some ideas yourself for how people can get speaking engagements. I would love for you to share. And remember to like or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.